So if you wanted to drive from the city to the beach and you know how to drive, but your GPS is still set for the city, then of course, the time you start heading towards the beach, your GPS is going to turn you around and guide you back to the city. And in the same way, your brain is always keeping you in alignment, not with what you consciously want, not with your conscious goals, desires, intentions, but with your implicit childhood memories, which are the brain's GPS. So implicit memory is unconscious memory. If you were to look outside and notice it's raining, which it is here in central Illinois today, how do you know it's rain? How do you know it's not dangerous? And how do you know if you walk out into it, you'll get wet? You probably can't remember the last time you learned about rain, but your brain has that information stored as implicit memory. So it's something you just know. So in the same way, as we go about our day, as we encounter the world, what we see, hear, feel, the data enters the back of the brain first, the unconscious part. So this is without our conscious, before we become consciously aware, the data has already entered that part of the brain. And the unconscious part of the brain refers to our implicit childhood memories that prove what this means, what we're experiencing, what it means. And that then triggers the brain to produce chemicals that create feelings and emotions. And then the conscious mind becomes aware and we respond accordingly. So that's why it's so difficult to change our core behaviors and beliefs, because we only become conscious of them after the unconscious part of the brain has done its check. And it's still referring to that evidence from childhood of what this experience means. It's also why different people experience and respond to the same situations differently, because each one of us, each person's brain is referring to different implicit childhood memories. Type 2 in the chat if that was a light bulb moment for you. So at a recent workshop it was actually not so recent anymore, it was last year sometime, at a workshop I did, somebody asked me the question, what about successful people who haven't changed their childhood memories? So there are successful people who've had bad, negative experiences in their childhood, and some of them have even had trauma, and they haven't changed their childhood memories. How come they're able to be successful anyway? And I think it's such a great question, so that's why I wanted to include it here. So first of all, every individual has a different combination of references. So this is not a one size fits all, obviously. And if it was just a case of taking massive action or working harder or using affirmations or visualizations, then those things would work for everyone. But they don't. They don't work for everyone. They work for some people. They work for some things. And the third piece here is that what we perceive as success is not always accurate. So you may be able to think right now of celebrities who seem to have it all, but then it turned out that they were suffering without anyone knowing. So our negative childhood references show up in different ways. For some people, it is financial or career and business. For others, it may be issues in their relationships. For others, it may be their physical health, emotional health, or mental health. And for some of us, of course, it's a combination. So think of it this way. If you think of a Rubik's Cube, the way to solve this Rubik's Cube, of course, is to twist the blocks until you end up with 6 sides of a solid color each. But how would you solve this Rubik's Cube that has too many red squares and not enough green? Some Rubik's Cubes can be solved by twisting the blocks until you end up, and then some may take longer, they may take different twisting patterns, but they end up with that solved state. But others, no amount of twisting those blocks is ever going to end up with 6 sides of the same color. In the same way, some of us, so to change that Rubik's Cube, of course, to solve that Rubik's Cube, you have to replace the red squares with green. Then any twisting you do and so on is going to end up with that solved state. And in the same way, for some of us, we need to change the building blocks of our self-image and worldview, the physical references that our self-image is based on, changing those references, then all of the other things, affirmations, visualization, massive action, and all the other things can work. So let's move on to how to do that. So setting your own coordinates of your GPS to match the results that you want. Implicit memories created in childhood prove our self-image and worldview, provide the evidence for our self-image and worldview. The unconscious part of the brain is constantly referring to those memories and then triggering the chemicals that create emotions and feelings, and then the conscious mind responds automatically. So in order to change your brain's GPS, you need to change the childhood memories that are proving the results you're getting now. But can memories really be changed? So based on the latest in neuroscience, not only can memories be changed, but they are already changing and updating automatically. So you may have found when speaking with friends and family about an event that you all experienced, that everyone seems to have their own version of what happened. And that's because memories are neither accurate nor permanent in the first place. And then finally, the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, can't use logic or reason, and can't judge something as unrealistic. You may have found that when you're watching a scary movie, you feel the fear even though you know it's just a movie. So your conscious mind knows it's just a movie, but the unconscious part of your brain that can't tell the difference between reality and imagination thinks that you are in real danger and is pumping stress chemicals into your system, creating that fight, freeze, flight state, just as it would if you were in real danger. And in addition to that, you may have found that even if the movie is unrealistic, it doesn't matter. You still feel the fear because the unconscious part of your brain can't judge something as unrealistic and can't use logic or reason. So considering our implicit memories, our implicit childhood memories prove our self-image and worldview, memories are already changing and updating anyway, and the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, can't use logic or reason, and can't judge something as unrealistic, we can create new evidence that proves the results we want to experience. Then those results are automatic. And this is the most common question we have, or objection we have, is, isn't that brainwashing yourself or gaslighting yourself or denying what happened? And it is a good question. So think of it this way. When you change the coordinates in your GPS from where you are to where you want to be, your next destination that you want to get to, the GPS accepts those new coordinates for the new destination, while you as the driver can still remember where you were before. In the same way, the unconscious part of your brain will accept the new childhood memories as evidence of your new self-image and worldview, while you, at your conscious mind, the driver, you'll consciously still remember what originally happened. So changing memories is just for the unconscious part of your brain. There's no gaslighting or brainwashing yourself involved.